Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at a classic knife from Germany. It's known by the old-timers as the Black Cat knife from Germany because it was sold predominantly with a black coating, and there was a cat logo on it, and there was a K55 and then a flipped K with the name. It's made by Otter-Messer in Germany. It's an old German knife company in the Solingen region of Germany, which is the knife-making region of Germany. It's known as the Mercator. I'm pronouncing that wrong. I don't have my German pronunciation very good, even though I grew up speaking a dialect of German called Plattdeutsch. That doesn't mean that I know how to pronounce German words very well. You know, it's an old knife that's been around for quite a long time, and now they use modern methods to make it, but it's still the classic design, and they've added a pocket clip in very recent years. I can't say year because it's been more than 12 months, but as far as the public having access to it, especially here in North America, it's been just right around a year that the pocket clip version has become available, and just in the last few months where it's readily available. This knife comes in several finishes. We've got the stainless steel finish. You've got the classic stainless steel with the black coating on it. Now you can get it in solid brass, solid copper. You can get it with wood inlay, so a stainless steel frame with thin veneer of wood on either side. Several different ways of this knife coming, and they've got two sizes, the small and the regular or the large. I have the large here. The small has a blade that's under 3 inches. And they've got a multifunction version that has the blade, and then it's also got one of those multi-tool arms that's got the standard or flat screwdriver and bottle opener, and it's got a wine bottle opener as well in the multifunction version. They even have it now with Damasteel Damascus blade, pattern molded blade. So there's a number of different ways to get these. Plain stainless steel is usually the lowest priced, but it all depends on where you get it. I got links down below. In Canada, the cheapest place to get this is at Blades Canada, also known as Warriors and Wonders. And in America, basically, if you go to Amazon or Chicago Knife Works, and I've got another one listed down below, those are the three places that have generally the lowest prices. There certainly are places where these things are way overpriced, but they're not super economical, but they're not expensive either. So let's spend some time taking a look at the Mercator by Otter-Messer. My guess is that few knife guys under 50 know much about these knives. And even the older knife guys from North America, many of them haven't heard of this knife before, or haven't at least had one. It's somewhat well known, but it's certainly not as popular as it used to be years ago. Because of the wide variety of variants of this knife, I can't really just give you some exact prices, because it really depends on where you go. Well, every knife does, but the ranges change a lot. I'll just say this. In the United States, these start in the low 30s. In Canada, they start in the high 50s in Canadian dollars. In Europe, I see these starting in the high 30s, low 40s. That's euros, of course. I didn't find a store, and I didn't look very hard to find a store in the UK that carries this knife, but I'm sure somebody does there. So it's not an expensive knife, but it's not a super budget knife either. It's a budget knife in my opinion, and it's certainly built like a classic budget knife. We've got pins that hold it together, so you can't take it apart. Classically, it was made like this. You've got your loop back here, and this is the new pocket clip. They did a pretty good design of adding a pocket clip to a knife that was never designed for a pocket clip. I'm sure they went through quite a few iterations before they settled on this one, and it's fairly good. Because of the wide base with the 2 screws, it's a very sturdy clip. The way that they created the spring tension on this clip means it's a very strong clip. It's going to last for years and years. It's a little too strong of a clip. And since the clip is one of the newest functions, let's take a look at that first. It's got a flat top on it, which is a nice touch, so it doesn't end up poking up, so it doesn't poke in your hand. It's far enough off of the handle that it easily comes around the pants, and then you push it in and it stops about there. It doesn't go all the way to the end there, and that's just because of the way this is angled down. So that's what you've got sticking out. It's about 1.5 centimeters, 15 millimeters, and 5/8 of an inch sticking out, plus that loop. That's okay. I would have liked if they could have figured out some kind of clip that doesn't terminate, just coming down on an angle like that, creating a pinch point. Then it could go a little bit deeper, I think. But it's not a bad design. I like how well it performs. It does feel different than most pocket clips going into the pocket simply because of how much tension's on here and the way that this pinches down on an angle. It just feels different going into a pocket. But I never had it come loose in my pocket or move. When I wanted to take it out, it's easy to pull out because you've got the screws sticking out and you've got this loop, so it's easy to grab on to pull out, although you do have to yank a little bit because this spring is pretty hard. The thickness of this pocket clip, I didn't measure it. It's on the screen how thick that is. It's a decent stainless steel clip. The body of this knife is all stainless steel. It's one piece of steel that's been folded over. They've got the name stamped on here, Mercator, Germany, or Mercator. On this side is the knife company logo. That's an otter. It says Otter-Messer. And that's exactly where they would have the logo for the cat. Here's a picture of it. We've got some kind of plastic back here. I think it's probably some kind of ABS plastic. And you can just see at the tip there, that little line. That's the spring for the back spring that comes along here, and then that pin holds it in place, and it pushes up on the back of the lock release. This is a lock back style. We've got a nail nick here, only on one side to open it. You don't really need to use your nail, just grab it and pull it out. And it works just like any lock back. And this is one of the older lock back knives in existence. At least still that's in production. Is who knows? It might be the oldest lockback knife that's still in production. It's solid. Lock up. There's no blade play up and down. There's no blade play side to side. It's just a pin holding the pivot together. There's no washers in there. It's just the stainless steel rubbing on the stainless steel. You can open it up like this, and you got to stay down lower to keep it in focus. And you can drip a little bit of oil in there and help create smoother action. But it's got decent action. It's not a knife that you flick around. It's a two-hand opening knife. The lockback is just another piece of steel that's been punched out, but the edges are not sharp. You've been just slightly rounded over, and then the back end of it is rounded there as well. So when you're holding the knife, it's in the perfect place. When you want to close the knife, you just use your thumb right there and close the knife. Not like a lot of lockbacks where you have to put your hand back here, push down, and then close the knife. Just, there you go. And you close the knife. So I like it quite a lot. Nice and smooth action. Everything's rounded on the handle. And that's because when they punched out this flat piece of steel before they folded it, the punch has a rounded edge, so the pressure just rounded off the edges, and I gotta go take care of Bandit. I'll be right back. Anything moves outside, Bandit's gotta tell me. So what was I talking about? How comfortable it is in hand. With the rounded back, these edges are rounded, but the inside edges are not rounded. So if you're going to be using it for an extended period and you end up squeezing it, especially if you're working hard, cutting something that needs a little bit of pressure to cut, you'll end up, getting little pressure lines on your fingers across there because the inside edge is a little bit rough. I could take a, thin little file and just break that edge a little bit more. That would help. These edges here, they've just been, ground on a wheel. So you can see grind lines along them where they've, if a belt's coming straight down, they just smooth that out to even out the two edges. The guard here, well, that guard is a little bit pointy. So if you're having a task where you're doing a fair bit of puncturing, like if, I don't know, you want to cut apart a bunch of plastic that you need to puncture and then cut. I did cut some plastic and stuff. That does get a little irritating right there because when you're puncturing something, it's pushing back, and that pushing back, ends up pushing into that finger and creates some irritation. Nothing significant. Other than that, the handle's fairly comfortable. To the blade, we've got a sort of a penknife style blade or a spear point blade where the two edges here, they're rounded at a similar rate. It's not exactly the same. The drop point and the belly, they're not exact mirrors of each other, but it's pretty good. Full flat grind. The steel here is 1.4034, which is very much like 420 HC, the high carbon version of 420. So Rockwell hardness on this, 55, 56 maybe. The carbon steel version is made with C75 carbon steel, which is a little bit harder than the stainless steel. So if you live in an area where carbon steel is fine for you, get the carbon steel. It'll have better edge durability. It'll hold the sharpness longer than the 420 HC. Quit complaining, buddy. You'll get to go outside soon. Yeah, you will. Just wait. So I got the stainless steel just because I wanted to see how durable the edge was. And yeah, it performed just like most 420 HC blades that I've used. The sharpness choil, it's a little bit laughable. They might as well not have put a sharpness choil on there at all. It's, back on the ricasso side of the plunge, and they could have just left it out. So I could make that bigger and put in a real sharpness choil if I wanted to, but yeah, I don't know. The writing on the knife, on the blade, on this side it says Mercator stainless, and on the other one it would say Mercator carbon for carbon steel. On this side, Germany, and then it's got Solingen. A lot of knives of different types and different brands are made in that region, so they've got their own way of writing that. So made in Germany, and yeah, it is a typical German kind of knife. It is not overly complicated, but it's made quite well. And, so it's not like a knife made in China that is dirt cheap. This knife does cost a little bit because, even though machines make most of this, humans have to sharpen it and stuff, and it does take a few human touches, I'm sure, to, finish it off. And of course, Otter-Messer makes a wide variety of other knives as well that you can choose from, some of which are fairly old, like Sodbuster style and other style knives. Let's go over the sizes, dimensions, and all that stuff for this knife. We'll put that on the screen for a while I'm talking about those things. The weight of the stainless steel version, 79 grams, 2.8 ounces. The sharpness from the factory, 190 bests. So not great. It could have been quite a bit better. It just wasn't sharpened terribly well. The cutting edge length, it's about 80 millimeters, 3.15 inches. The blade length, tip to the handle, 86.7 millimeters, 3.41 inches. The thickness of the steel, 2.94 millimeters, which is 0.116 of an inch. The blade depth, its biggest right here, just as at the heel of the blade. 16.8 millimeters, 0.66 of an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, 0.33 millimeters, 0.13 of an inch. So it's nice and thin, which helps it to cut well. The grind angle. On this side, it was about 18.8 degrees with less than a degree of variation along the length. And on this side, it was 25.3 degrees with less than a degree of variation. I have since sharpened it to 20 degrees per side, and it performs quite well. It's, a decent, nice shape, knife shape, and once you put a decent edge on it, which is quite easy to do because 420HC, it just is not hard to put a good edge on it. Now for the handle length, and I measured it not counting the loop back here, 109.9 millimeters, 4.33 inches. The grip area, it's about 10 centimeters or 3 inches, 4 inches. See, 4 inches. The handle thickness, not on any of the pins, just on the two faces of it's one face because it's one piece. That is 6.1 millimeters, 0.24 of an inch, so it's just under 1/4 of an inch thick. The knife depth, that's this measurement. It's biggest right here at the end of the handle, 23.1 millimeters, 0.91 of an inch. When the knife is closed, the widest point is right about here, and that is 26.3 millimeters, 1.04 inches. Oh, and I did it again. The total length of this knife is 196.6 millimeters, not counting the belt loop. And that is right around 7 3/4 inches. So yeah, it's a decent size, decent weight. Oh, the balance point is back here, just a little bit before the Otter logo. That's okay. I usually prefer the balance point to be right by my index finger, but on such a light knife, it really doesn't matter. It performs well. You do see a little bit this plastic piece in here. When you go to close the knife, you can hear it kind of hits. And so the tip of the belly here does hit that plastic. So usually that's not too bad because it's not like it's hitting metal. I'm sure they didn't use this modern ABS plastic when it first came out because this is an old design. Do I recommend this knife? Yes, I do. I recommend that somebody who's seriously into knife collecting get some of the old school knives from various countries, especially in Europe. I've got some Spanish knives. I'll be reviewing another one soon, maybe even this month. A classic Spanish knife. And, this is one of the classic knives. So, there you go. The Otter-Messer Mercator. If you're interested in one of these, I've got links down below, certainly for North Americans, to get one of these knives. White Mountain Knives does not carry this knife, so sorry, you can't use my coupon code to save money on this. I just have regular priced links just for stores that carry these. Thank you so much for watching my video. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, cut towards your chum, not your thumb.